Yeah, man!
Hello, my name is Miguel, and today I'm gonna make for you liver brown stew. So you're gonna need between a pound and a half of liver. I'm using local liver. Browning, distilled white vinegar, onion, tomatoes, scallion, which is not here right now, garlic, dried springtime, it can be fresh, peas, ginger, grinded nutmeg, 3 whole clove spices, 1/4 teaspoon dried pimento berries, rosemary, sweet basil, parsley, oregano. Remember, you can use any of these herbs fresh, cut it fine, marjoram, salt. I'm using sea salt. Visit JAMAICADinners.com for the recipe. I forgot to say, but we're gonna add ketchup at the end. In this recipe, we're gonna add the ingredients twice while cooking. So get 2 containers, container 1 and container 2 first. Measure 1 between a half tablespoon rosemary. Grind it fine. Put half in container 1 and half in container 2. If you can find grinded fine rosemary in the stores, that's best. Measure 1/4 teaspoon dried pimento berries. Put it in container 1. I forgot to say, but we're using half Scotch bonnet pepper. Put it in container 2. Measure 1 tablespoon of dried basil. Put half in each container. Measure a tablespoon between a half of dried parsley. Put half in each container. Measure a teaspoon of marjoram. Put half in each container. Measure half a teaspoon of oregano. Put that in container 1. Next, grind 1/4 teaspoon nutmeg. Put that in container 1. Nutmeg is optional. Measure 1 teaspoon salt. Put that in container 2. Alright, look, I'm gonna give you a tip. This is a big and very important tip. When cooking liver, do not put the salt on the liver before it cooks. That will make the liver hard, and that will make the liver hard when it's cooked. So it's best to add the salt halfway while cooking. Cut half piece ginger. Wash it well. You don't have to peel it, but you could. Put ginger in container 1. Next, prepare garlic and onion. Peel garlic. Cut off ends. Trim spoilage. Use 8 between 12 garlic cloves for this recipe. And I forgot to say earlier, we're using cooking oil. I'm using coconut oil. Grind garlic to puree. Put half in each container as well. Peel onion. Cut onion in half. It's easier to handle. Remove the brown leaf. Remember, the first layer of the onion is the strongest. Only throw it away if it is spoiling. Put half diced onion in each container as well. The bunch of springtime should be the size of 2 fingers put together. As for the thyme stick, pour a little water into a bowl. Drizzle several drops of distilled white vinegar in the water. Wash the thyme's leaf clean. Give it a final rinse. It's best to do this under running water. Wash tomatoes clean. I'm using scallion, but it's frozen. The best way to use frozen scallion is to take it from the freezer to the pot same time. So that's what I'm gonna do. You cannot allow the frozen scallion to defrost before you add it in the pot. Cut off the tomatoes stem part and then dice it. Put diced tomatoes in container 2. When cooking any meat, it's best to prepare the vegetables first. Next, we're going to prepare the liver for cooking. Get a clean bowl that you used for seasoning meat only ready. Get a chopping board that you use for meat only. This is a chopping mat that I use for meat only. Notice the red? This is local liver, Jamaican liver. If you can buy local liver, it's best. It's worth the price. The cost of local liver is 3 times the price of imported liver. To prepare liver for cooking, remove film that is on the liver. It looks glossy. You'll see it. This is it. Use a knife, get between film and flesh that is on the liver. Remove it. Do what I'm doing. See? This is it. You gotta get a hold of it and rip it off. This part is important. Look for the shiny part. You gotta hold it firm so that it won't pop, and just kind of rip it off like you would a piece of tape from its roll. This is it. This piece liver is literally covered with it. Therefore, remove it all before cooking. Use your knife. Cut in the liver. Grab hold of the film, hold it firm, and rip it off. Usually on the liver, there's some little tough, white-looking collagen, you might call it. If not, it's collagen, it's not fat. If it's on the liver, cut it off. This liver doesn't have any. Or a kidney may have it. I think liver kind of have it too, you know. Next, wash off liver. Add enough water into the bowl. Drizzle several drops of distilled white vinegar in the water. You may use lime juice instead. Use your hand and your fingers and kind of rub around the liver. Once you do that, throw this water off. Give the liver a final rinse. It's best if you do this part under fresh running water. Allow the liver to drain excess water. Use your 2 hands with your fingers. Squeeze the liver. Remove excess water. Put it in a colander and allow it to drain excess water. Next, we're going to chop or cut the liver for cooking. Get your chopping board ready. Get a sharp knife ready. I like to use the scissors that I use for cooking only. Now, if the liver is as big as this, cut it in half. You should have a 2-inch width piece to cut. Lay the piece liver on chopping board. Use the sharp knife. Cut 2-inch pieces. In other words, it should be big as 2 inches and maybe 1 inch thick. So this long piece that I'm holding, it's 2-inch thick. So therefore, cut some 1-inch pieces. I hope you are getting it. Hope you're following what I'm saying. If you cut some pieces smaller or bigger, that is fine. If you don't understand, use your fingers as a guide. Put 2 fingers together, and where it bends in the middle, like the second index of your finger, you want it to be as big as that. You are seeing what I'm doing, right? I like to use the scissors to cut the liver. It's easier, in my opinion. Put cut liver into a dried, clean bowl. Put to eat a big enough stew pot or saucepan. Put the stove's gauge on 4. Medium-low. Allow the saucepan to dry out. Ensure no water is in the saucepan before you add cooking oil. If water is in the saucepan, the heat will dry it out after a minute. Once the saucepan is dried out, add cooking oil. I am using coconut oil. Add 1/4 cup cooking oil. Allow that to get hot for a minute. No, allow it to get hot for 20 seconds. Add liver pieces into the saucepan that is on heat. It might stick somewhat, so immediately add onion, the garlic, and the scallion from container 1. Stir it in a few times while it's cooking. Allow it for 5 seconds and then stir it in. That will allow the liver pieces to not stick and be able to move in the pan. Measure and add 2 tablespoons browning. Coating liver with browning. Now, to get off the browning, pour the water into the container where the liver was. While doing that, wash off the browning into the container and then pour that water into the saucepan on the liver that's on the heat. About 30 seconds later, add the herbs. Add all the ingredients in container 1. Stir it in a few times while it's cooking. Right after that, add water. Add 2 cups of water. Stir it in. Stir it in a couple times. Use the pan's lid. Cover the pan properly. The stove's gauge is on 4, medium-low. Allow. This is seasoning container number 2. Add a tablespoon of distilled white vinegar in it so that we won't forget it. Normally you would add it while it's stewing, but I don't want to forget it. If you freeze your scallion like I do, now would be the best time to add it. Dice it frozen. Put it into the stew. Add your dried pimento berries and old clove spices right after the onion. Keep the lid covered properly during cooking. After 15 minutes, this is what it looks like. Now would be the best time to add salt as well as seasoning from container number 2. Stir it in, stir it in. Stove's gauge is on 4, medium-low. Pepper is optional. Watch the pepper. Keep the pepper on top. Use the pan's lid, cover it properly. Allow. I forgot to add soy sauce. After 25 minutes, measure and add a teaspoon of soy sauce. Soy sauce is optional. If you have it, you could add 1/4 teaspoon of jerk sauce or steak sauce. Now would be a good time to remove the pepper. We are just using the pepper for flavoring, not to get it spicy. After 30 minutes, this is what you want. Now would be a good time to add ketchup. Measure and add 1/4 cup ketchup. This will thicken the stew. Stir it in, stir it in. Now would be a good time to remove the thyme stick. If you don't, it tends to splash and mess the stove up. And it could splash and burn you. See, there's less water than when we started. The water is evaporating while it's cooking. Use the pan's lid, cover it, and let it stay on 4 medium-low. Allow. After 35 minutes, this is what you want. At this point, when you open the lid, you should smell the aroma of the liver stewing. At this point, you could turn the stove up on 6. Leave the lid off and allow it to thicken, but I'm not going to. The water is evaporating. I'm gonna let it continue cooking. I'm gonna let it stay between 5 minutes more. Watch it from now on. After 2 minutes, this is what it looks like. It's not ready. I want it to be thick. I want the gravy to be thick. This is after 4 minutes. The stew is getting there. I'm just gonna turn the stove up just to push along the cooking. It's not thick, the way I want it. Let it stay for a minute more. This is a full 5 minutes. This is what it looks like. This is what you want. Once the stew starts to stick to the pot's bottom, that's a sign to say it's ready. See, look. See, look. The flavor of this liver brown stew will mature after 3 hours. That's it. Finish. Turn the stove off. Cover saucepan until serving. Stir pot in before serving. When you open the lid, you should smell the aroma of the liver. Pour some of this delicious looking liver brown stew, aka browned stew liver, on a plate of rice. This is liver brown stew, aka browned stew liver. Visit JAMAICADinners.com for the recipe. Subscribe, like, and share. You should try making this meal yourself. Give us feedback when you do. This is the liver up close. I am so happy it ran across my mind to do this. Because this is brown stew liver, it's very difficult to capture the liver without it being dark on the picture, on the video. This is local liver. In my opinion, the flavor of local liver is better. The flavor is not like corn, as it would be if it was imported liver. This is what cooked brown stewed liver looks like, up close. Who is used to eating liver should know the flavor of liver. It's not spicy. Remove pepper before finish cooking. I use a teaspoon of salt. It's a bit fresh. You go ahead and use 1 tablespoon of salt. That's sufficient. 1 tablespoon of salt is sufficient for this recipe. I wasn't going to say anything, but I must. Look, I washed the liver only because you know why. In my opinion, the flavor of the liver, specifically the liver itself, was fresh. If I didn't wash it, I believe you would have tasted the real flavor of the liver. But you know, Jamaican and them washing already. I'm confused because I honestly believe you should not wash meat. But you know how the story goes already. The flavor was clean, I must say that, but there wasn't any flavor. This is just something for you to think about. Until next time, bye.
Yeah, man.